Contrary to expectations that a signing of the Petroleum Industry Act would automatically commence the deregulation of the downstream sector, especially the removal of subsidy. But the federal government has continued to retain the price or pump price of petrol at 165 naira per litre until a feasible framework is developed. Given the operationalization of the PIA, which is set to bring about certainty, competitiveness, and cost optimization in the nation's oil and gas industry, issues concerning oil theft and low production output has posed a serious threat for investors to benefit immensely from the implementation of the PIA. With oil prices experiencing a rebound, the federal government might continue to find it difficult to sustain subsidy payments or even borrow to fund subsidies, but continue to avoid backlash from households dealing with high poverty and, of course, inflation rate. Well, let's get talking very quickly as I have joining me via Zoom. She's a senior energy analyst at Stirs Business, Noel Okodi. Thank you very much for your time, Noel. It's good to see you.
Thank you, too, Lopez. Good to be here.
And congratulations on your new role.
Thank you.
Yes, NUPRC and PIA implementation. Now, like I said in my introduction, many thought that the PIA has been signed into law, we deregulate, we remove subsidy, we move on and attract what we want to attract, which is investments into the oil and gas industry. What's your assessment of the present delay?
Well, the thing about the PIA, in my opinion, is that it was just too little too late, because it was supposed, like you said, it's supposed to bring certainty, transparency to the oil sector. But the issues that we're seeing right now have made the PIA obsolete, actually, because it's not just about certainty anymore. With oil theft, the scale of oil theft that we're seeing happening in Nigeria, it's not just about reducing taxes or making things transparent. If oil companies can't even operate because every other day there's vandalism, there's theft, they have to shut down their operations to fix their machines and their equipment and their pipelines because people are breaking into them to steal their oil, then we have a much bigger problem on our hands that I don't think the PIA on its own can address in its current state.
That's very serious. So we have 18 months of an extension, and some say this is political more than economical. We have put aside about 4 trillion naira to sort this out. Sustaining this is what worries me. What do you think?
Yes, definitely. Sustaining a 4 trillion naira, that's just for now, because we don't even know what oil prices are going to look like and whether the subsidy amount will even grow. That's just an estimate for now. So it's definitely a difficult decision and it's unsustainable. What we're doing right now is that we're borrowing money to fund structure. It's just for people to buy petrol. It doesn't make economic sense. But at the same time, removing the subsidy is not just, while it's a political decision, it also has economic connotations. Because on the one hand, yes, removing the subsidy will save us some money that we desperately need. But on the other hand, people are going to suffer. There's going to be higher inflation. But the thing is, there are other ways around it. So rather than giving people aid or benefits in form of subsidy, you can actually give them cash benefits or other kinds of benefits, and even the infrastructural gains that we'll get from the funds that we save from this subsidy will make a better difference or a bigger difference for people. Because right now, the people that are benefiting from the subsidy are actually not the poorest people in society. The poorest people in society are not benefiting from the subsidy as much as the middle class and high class people. So yes, that's just what I have to say about that.
What is happening in the sector? But before I move on, I'd like to ask you, the argument has been that Nigeria continues to subsidize even for neighboring countries. That is the worry. What do you think can be done with regards to accountability, what we consume? Do you think there's any way this can be properly checked?
Look at these neighboring countries. They're paying for petrol for in naira as high as 500 naira per litre. And then Nigeria, you have it at 167. There's always going to be that incentive for people to smuggle petrol to these countries to sell, and for people from these countries to want our petrol because it's cheaper. So as long as that incentive is there, it's basic economics. There will always be smuggling because there's no, the market price is not, the government is not allowing the market price to reign. Instead, they are controlling the price. So price control always leads to smuggling. So the only way I think we can actually know how much Nigeria consumes is if we remove that incentive, and that's by removing the subsidy.
Okay, now let's talk about the Russia and Ukraine war. We've seen prices of crude looking very good, but all revenue continues to plunge in Nigeria, despite the fact that the price remains on the high side. What is responsible for this? I know the first one is that we are not meeting our OPEC quota.
Yes. So that's the major reason, actually, because we're not producing enough oil, and that's majorly because of vandalism and theft. So Nigeria's OPEC quota is around 1.6 million barrels per day or something, or 1.7 or so. And instead, I think last month, for the first 3 months of the year, it's just been going down, but it's been around 1.3 million barrels per day. So in January, it was around 1.4. In February, it was around 1.3. In March, it was 1.29 or so. So it just keeps going down, and it's reducing. And it's just because of theft and vandalism. What's interesting is in the revised fiscal framework, which is the revised budget, our oil production target was reduced from 1.88 million barrels to 1.6. And that just shows that even the government is admitting that oil theft is here to stay, and it's something that, it's almost like it's something that can be fixed. But I don't think that's true, and there's actually a way out for Nigeria. We just have to tighten our monitoring and make sure that we're monitoring, we upgrade our infrastructure. We can deploy drones, monitoring pipelines that are smart. There are pipelines now that if there's a break or someone even touches them, there's an alarm that goes off and someone can come quickly to check. But we're not doing these investments, and we're not upgrading our infrastructure. So we have to keep dealing with these issues, and they're not affecting our future and our economy.
I'm worried. I see this as not just being done by just vandals. I believe there are some professionals involved in this process. And also, I'm always worried about those buying the crude from those that steal the crude. That's also something. So I think it's on both sides. I think there needs to be some international synergy, maybe between us and some countries that buy this stolen crude. What do you think?
Well, I don't know who buys the stolen crude, so I can't say much about that.
Yeah. But I agree with you. But of course, they sell to some people. Yes, I know. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but in terms of synergy between us and the people that buy our crude generally, at the end of the day, Nigeria is not the only country that sells crude. So it's not on anybody that is buying from us to help us fix our issues. It's on us to fix our issues ourselves, because we want to make money. We want to fund our budget. We want to develop our country, and it's in our best interest to make money, to make this oil money. So I don't think that there's anybody that's going to come and save us, because even with the Russia-Ukraine crisis, like looking at the gas sector, for instance, now that Europe is looking for new sources of gas, and they're going round to all the countries that have gas, from Qatar to Nigeria. And when they came to Nigeria, what the Minister of State for Petroleum was saying was that we need investment. And looking at it from the European Union's point of view, I'm just thinking, if Qatar is willing, and Qatar is making $30 billion worth of investments to increase their gas output, why would I come and spend my money to help Nigeria? it just doesn't make economic sense for anybody to help us, in my opinion. But I guess we'll see if any country is interested in helping us with our issues.
All right, beautiful one there. Let's now look at this marginal field bidding round. What are the updates? Because we see that some companies even have issues in paying for signature bonuses, and the NUPRC might withdraw their award letters. Any updates with regards to this?
Yes, so the thing about these marginal oil fields is that, for one, even besides the signature bonus, so the way I see it, if a bidder or a company can't even afford to pay the signature bonus, then how can you even afford to develop the marginal oil field? So, yeah, that's the update that we've seen so far, that the NEPRC is considering taking back their licenses because they can't afford to pay. And I don't think it's a bad move, because really, if, like I said, you can't afford to pay for the signature bonus, then is there any guarantee that you'll even be able to invest and develop the marginal oil field? Because that's the problem that we saw in the past, around 2003, where companies couldn't raise money to even develop the fields, and they were recalled, and now they've been put up again for sale. So, yeah.
Great stuff. So divestment by IOCs is also something that worries me in the industry. Now, I told you we have a lot. Let's just try and touch on all of the key issues bedeviling the industry. And you consider the likes of Shell and Mobil that are currently divesting their onshore and shallow water assets in Nigeria. Noel, react to this. What is responsible for this? Why are they shifting?
Well, I think the issues are clear. Well, from an IOC perspective, so for local oil companies, they might not have this flexibility. But from an IOC perspective, where you have assets worth billions of dollars in several countries, like I said about other countries also helping us, it just does not make economic sense to keep dealing with Nigeria's issues. So between theft and vandalism, our cost of production for oil have gone up. It's not that there's no profit to be made, because there's still profit, but it's just that the profit margin has reduced. So if you're an international oil company and you can go to maybe Angola or something and find oil there, and it's cheaper, the cost of production are lower, you don't have to deal with vandalism, you don't have to shut down your production every other day because you're fixing your pipeline, then why would you have to stay and deal with Nigeria's issues? It just doesn't make economic sense for IOCs, and that's the major reason why they're leaving.
So as it is, what's your outlook for the oil and gas industry with all of the challenges now, of course, globally and domestically?
Well, so for Nigeria's issues, I think yesterday the news broke as well that Total is also trying to leave Total IOC. So now we're seeing that very soon we might have just local oil companies, like Nigerian, locally owned oil companies developing our oil, which is not necessarily a bad thing if they can pick up the slack, if they can produce as much as they should. But the thing is, these issues that we're dealing with, vandalism and theft, they're not going away, and they're things that we need to address. So like I said, there's a lot of investments that can be made to upgrade our pipelines and just make sure that our infrastructure is better. And like you said, it hasn't been confirmed. Like, we don't know who the people are that are actually carrying out this theft. The scale at which it's happening just indicates that it's not just host communities. It's not just Niger Delta militants or whoever. It seems like it's a very sophisticated and high level of theft that's happening, that cannot be happening without some aid from people in power. So at this point, I think that it's important that we're actually serious. Like, do we want to stop oil theft, or do we not want to stop oil theft? That we know where we stand, and the government can maybe, if we see that there's no hope for oil, then we move on to diversifying to other assets that we have, or other sources of revenue. For the global outlook, well, we're seeing that the Russia-Ukraine crisis has increased oil prices like crazy, and right now it's supposed to be a good time to be an oil-producing country. But like we're saying for Nigeria, it's just not translating between the subsidies and the lower production because of oil theft. So for us to take advantage of that, we really need to get our act together and fix our issues.
Noel Okodi, Senior Energy Analyst at Stirrers Business. I must thank you so much for your time. Brilliant submissions here. Do enjoy your weekend and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Enjoy your weekend.